Okay, so let's see here. Make sure that we're live. Because Lord knows I get paranoid about that these days. There we go. It looks like we're up. Okay, so last episode, which was my sister's birthday, I opened up this guy, the uh, the Mekaneck Ground Ripper 2 pack. So today we might as well go ahead and open up the Turtles of Grayskull version of Mekaneck, which I have to open. Look at that, he's unpunched. How about that? Still got the little tab in there. So CS the director stopped by on the previous episode where I talked about this Mekaneck, and I mentioned, hey, I've got this other one I'm going to open too, because he mentioned that he'd found this one at Ross, and I did not find this one at Ross. I found a few Turtles of Grayskull figures over there, but not this one, and not any figures from this assortment. And I would have gladly bought any of the figures from this assortment. I would have even bought a second Raphael, and I already have that Raphael. But I would have bought this Donatello. I don't have that version of Donatello. I have the other Donatello. And I certainly would have bought Ratlore, which is a figure that I'm planning on buying in the future. That Ratlore figure is just really cool. So I don't even have the regular Ratlore yet. I probably need to get the regular Ratlore, but yeah, the mutated Ratlore is just awesome. I love that figure. He looks great. But I did see that even though I wasn't able to get him at Ross, he was still at a discount price on Amazon. So not quite as cheap. I think he was like $1 more than I would have paid if I found him at Ross. I want to say these figures were like $13 at Ross, and I paid $14 for them on Amazon. So so a little more expensive than CS the director's figure, but I did get him. I did get him. So here's the artwork on the back. We can see Mekaneck and all four of the boys facing off against some foot soldiers, and it says, "Nobody knows how truly dangerous the snake men are more than Mekaneck, the snake hunting specialist able to spy on King Hiss from a distance." And then it says, "Reptile Wars. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles scour Eternia for Shredder, but find themselves in the middle of King Hiss's plot to make the Snake Men the most powerful force in the universe." So, Mekaneck, snake hunting spy; Ratlore, mutated snake men creature; Raphael, snake hunter with a short fuse; and Donatello, snake hunting tech head. Yeah, like it's kind of funny that like I was talking about in the last episode, even though it didn't have like specifically a Snake Men logo on the front of the package or anything like that, it was still technically part of those Snake Men waves of Masters of the Universe Origins. And I always say the Snake Men are cursed. It always means like the end of the line. And granted, Origins is still going on for now and has gone on for a couple of years after the whole Snake Men thing. But most of the Origins figures we've had since have been cartoon collection figures or, some other kind of crossover. So, the Origins line proper was still kind of winding down around that time. Likewise, the last, couple of waves or so of Turtles of Grayskull, the Snake Men became the villains. So if you're collecting a line of Masters of the Universe characters and it shifts over into a Snake Men theme, just be on alert. That line might be on its last legs. That's all I'm saying. But it is kind of funny that Mekaneck wound up with being kind of paired off with the Snake Men at the same time. Is Mekaneck kind of like the stealth arch enemy of the Snake Men? Is that what's going on there? Like, do the Snake Men hate Mekaneck because they feel like his serpentine neck is kind of intruding on their territory? Is it one of those things? Is that what's going on there? I don't know. But anyway, let's go ahead and open this guy up. We can talk about some of the accessories and things that come with him. But yeah, I knew once I had the regular Mekaneck, I knew I had to get this guy because reasons we'll get into as we discuss this. But I think that it would be really cool to have both of these so you can swap some parts around. And of course, we've already read this comic book in the Raphael episode for anybody who wants to see that. So I'm not going to bother to read this comic again. But there's the comic book that he comes with. It's entitled Reptile Wars Part 1, Snake in the Shadows. So yeah, he does come with a comic book, even though I'm not going to read it. I did want to acknowledge it. So let's move on to the figure himself and his accessories. And like a lot of the Turtles of Grayskull figures, he does come with a shield that can peg onto his back. Now, unlike the shields that come with Tila and Man-at-Arms, this one doesn't really have like any kind of turtle shell sort of design to it. It looks kind of like just like a. It does look kind of like a shell, but to me, it looks almost more like a lobster tail or something like that. You know, it definitely does not look like a turtle shell. And he comes with his club, which is molded in kind of a more metallic, a little more pearlescent kind of yellow shade. I don't know if that's coming across on the camera, but it's definitely a little. Maybe if I compare with the original one, I think if you see how just plain yellow the original one, then it becomes a little more obvious. But it looks to me like it is indeed the same mold. It does look like it's slightly smaller, but just by like a hair. Like I think that it's one of those things where like this is probably the same mold, but just the plastic shrunk up a little bit more. This type of plastic just ever so slightly than the regular plastic on the regular Mace did, club, whatever you want to call it. All right, so then we got these two extension pieces. And he does come with two extension pieces, which is nice. And they look to me, again, to be the same mold as what we had with the previous Mekaneck. Only this time, they did not paint in that collar piece blue. Remember, I was talking about how I didn't really like the collar piece being painted in blue. Well, guess what? This one, it's not painted. So somebody at Mattel must have thought, hey, let's change it up this time. And it makes sense because you've got two of these this time, so you can combine them both together. Which is again why I was saying I wish they hadn't done that with the one that came with the ground ripper. All right, so let's go ahead and get these rubber tabs that are around his ankles. And then I can more easily pull the figure out of the package. And then he's got a couple of rubber tabs around each of his elbows. And I think that might be it. I think that's all we got as far as the rubber tabs go. Now, this guy's got a lot of cool parts for customs. I've been working on a Warduke custom, and now I kind of wish that I had have gotten an extra one of these guys before I started working on that, because the armor at the arms and the legs, it's this nice metallic blue color, and I think that would have worked well for the armor on Warduke. I'll probably do a short on Warduke once I finally get that one entirely finished, but he's still got a few tweaks that I want to do to it. Now, the interesting thing to me about this armor is if we look at the original Mekaneck armor, which was replicated on the Ground Ripper figure, he's got a mostly red breastplate with a little bit of silver detailing to it. And our new Mekaneck has a mostly silver breastplate with a little bit of red detailing to it. And while it is an entirely different breastplate, and it's an entirely different mold, and it's a pretty new design, it does have elements of elements of that original Mekaneck breastplate. It's got a similar sort of mouthpiece here, although it's much wider, much thicker, looks a little more Darth Vader-ish, and it's still got like the little spaces in between where it's got these kind of like struts, I guess, pylons that kind of attach the mouthpiece onto the breastplate. and it's still got this kind of like oblong grill in the front here, like the original Mekaneck breastplate did. So you can see that. So it is like it does have elements of the original Mekaneck breastplate to it, but it's definitely its own sort of breastplate. And you can see it's got even more sort of things like exhaust fans off to the side here. But rather than molding it in red and putting some silver details on it, they took it in the opposite direction, and it's molded all in silver with some red detailing to it. And I'm just gonna pull his head off so we can get a better look at the head. His head, unlike the original Mekaneck, where you can see that, like, it's got the his chin exposed here, so we can see that he is indeed at least partially human. This one just completely covers the head, and in fact, this Mekaneck is wearing gloves. So he has no exposed flesh whatsoever. This Mekaneck could be entirely robotic for all we know. Like maybe he's just been damaged to the point where they had to replace all of his organic parts and not just, they say that Man-at-Arms gave him a robotic neck, but that never really jibed with me very well. And, with the original design, it does make it almost look like, if you imagine that as being maybe permanently a part of him, like he has an entirely robotic chest, and he just stuck the head and the arms and maybe like the lower part of his body, from the abs down. Anything that looks like it came from the He-Man figure, anything that did come from the He-Man figure could be organic, and then you just pretend that, like, the entire torso is I mean, like, the neck extends, the rest of it's got to go somewhere, so obviously it's going into his torso in the actual figure. Who knows where it's going? Like, maybe it compresses or something. But it seems to me like the simplest answer to that is that, yeah, the rest of the neck does kind of collect in the torso somewhere. So I figure at least part of Mekaneck's torso has got to be mechanical, and maybe his chest was damaged, and Man-at-Arms just saved whatever organic parts he could. But maybe in this latest battle with the Snake Men, like, that there just wasn't enough of Mekaneck left to save anymore, and he's just a brain inside of this robot body now, like Cliff Steele or something. So let's go ahead and have a look at him with his accessories. So we've got the club, like I said, and that fits into his hand fairly well. One other thing that I think is odd about this armor is you see he's got a bracer on his left forearm, but not on his right forearm. And that wouldn't be so odd to me if it was something like with Man-at-Arms, where, like, he was, like, armored on one side of him, or like Warduke, who I mentioned earlier, if he was armored just on kind of like one side, like had some leg armor too. But it's just this one forearm armor piece, and if he's gonna hold his shield, then that piece is armored anyway. So why did they even bother with giving him like one forearm piece and not give him a matching one on the other side? I don't know well, they didn't want to give him an extra one because they didn't want to spend the money on it. Okay, well then why did they spend the money on the first one? I don't understand it. It's obviously it's some kind of design element is how they intended it. But so there he is with the shield, and he looks really cool with the shield. And of course, that's not a weapon that Mekaneck usually comes with. But hey, it's the Turtles of Grayskull version. Sweet, damn it. Sometimes you go to pull a part off and it just doesn't want to stay in your hand. Come on, Butterfingers. And all the weapons fell out when I pulled its head off. So be careful with that, I guess. And go ahead and grab that mace where that fell on the ground. Mace, club, whatever you want to call it. It's really more of a club, I think. But, oh yeah, so we should go ahead and pull this off too, so I can talk about how that removes. It's like, unlike the other one, the original Mekaneck, the whole armor was like a hard plastic that kind of snapped around his chest. And this one's a little bit more like a clamshell where it doesn't open up at the top. It just opens up the sides, but it's more of a soft plastic. So you can take it off that way. This one is one of those where it's kind of more like the waxy plastic kind of stuff. So it's got some pliability to it, but it's still quite firm. So I'm going to say this, be really careful with the red paint on his armor, because paint never sticks to that pretty well. I mean, like, some of the paints are better than others as far as sticking to that type of plastic, but it's always going to be more delicate than regular plastic and regular paint. I do like the spine they got sculpted in there. That's really cool. But I did want to go ahead and get a look at the torso underneath. It's just the regular He-Man torso again, but it's molded in like this metallic blue to match the arms and legs, and it looks really cool. So I did want to get a look at that also. And let's go ahead and put the breastplate back onto him, and he just kind of squeezes over him. And then we can go ahead and put the neck piece on him, and we can see him with his neck fully extended. And that does look really cool. So now that we got him like this, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So, of course, there's extra articulation on this guy because of the neck pieces. It doesn't bend in the middle quite as much as I would like, probably, again, because of that collar piece. Maybe I could try to trim it off. I don't know if it'd be worth it. But if you remember the Masterverse Mekaneck, that one had a really cool neck to it. And since now that I think about it, I hadn't thought about it before. I might have brought that Mekaneck over here with me if I'd have thought about it. The neck plugs on the Origins and the Masterverse figures are compatible. So if you did want to use Masterverse neck pieces on Origins Mekaneck or vice versa, I suppose you could do that. So might be something worth playing around with. So, but anyway, I do like him having the second neck extension piece. I don't mind it having the collar piece in the middle. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it still looks pretty cool. So, and hey, like I said, if you wanna, you could even put them on the other Mekaneck, or put the third piece from this Mekaneck onto that one. And then we can give Mekaneck a super long neck. How about that? You ain't taking a picture of this figure in landscape mode. he's got to be in portrait mode, but that's what he looks like with with all three neck pieces on there. How about that? All right, so I'll go ahead and pop this head back on there for now. But yeah, just as far as the regular neck articulation, Mekaneck can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. I talked about how, like, I kind of felt like the movie, in the new movie, that version of Mekaneck, I kind of felt like that design was a little bland and just didn't have a lot of the weirdness that I like about the original Mekaneck figure. This one does give his helmet a little bit more of a conventional shape, as you can see, or should I say almost more like a samurai helmet kind of thing, or like Darth Vader. And in fact, the eye pieces remind me of Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. I kind of wonder if that was kind of part of but this also to me is like kind of trying to make a little bit more of a modernized, a little more cool looking, a little more sleek version of a Mekaneck helmet, but it still brings to mind I still see that and I still think of Mekaneck. Like, the helmet isn't quite that pyramid shape anymore, but it is kind of in somewhat of a triangular shape, and the fin helps with that a lot. So yeah, maybe if his helmet looked a little bit more like this in the movie, I would have liked that helmet. The one in the movie that he has right now just kind of looks like a normal motorcycle helmet or something. It's weird. I mean, it's not weird. That's the problem. The problem is it's not weird. It's too conventional looking. Mekaneck is kind of a weird looking character. He should be a weird looking character. Anyway, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders, but you want to be careful because he's got these pauldrons on here that are a separate piece, and those if these type of pieces on Masters of the Universe figures are any indication, it probably is going to slide off fairly easily or get jolted or moved around or whatever. So just be careful of that. And his arms move up to the side about that far. I will say that these pauldrons are very well designed in that, like, you can raise them up to the side and they kind of layer over the shoulder armor on the breastplate. So that way you can see that, it all works together fairly well, and that's nice. So Mekaneck has a single joint of articulation at the elbow, bends in about that far, and then that rotates all the way around. Of course, the wrist articulation, the wrist rotates all the way around, and both of these hands seem to have a horizontal hinge on them. It's just typical Masters of the Universe hands. They're molded in this metallic green color, which I think looks really cool. I like metallic colors. I always think they look nice when they're molded into the figure. It does give it a slight translucent quality, but not enough that I feel like it interferes with the verisimilitude of the figure, I think. And then Mekaneck rotates all around the waist. Of course, this is an Origins figure, so it does come apart, and you can swap parts around. So you can swap out the parts between these two Mekaneck figures and get like kind of your definitive version of Mekaneck. If you want one that looks more like the original figure, you've got that one. If you want a little more of an updated version, you've got this one. And you can combine the parts to get them anywhere you want to in between. So that's nice. Mekaneck can kick up about that far, which seems like a little bit worse even than the usual Masters of the Universe Origins. That's not the best joint there. So on these figures in general, they're kind of muscle bound, so that's going to happen. So yes, the director is here, and he says, "Nice to see you brought you brought out Mekaneck from Turtles of Grayskull." Yeah, like I was talking about that earlier, and how you said you found him at Ross, and I did not find mine at Ross. I don't know if you were here for that part. I got mine on Amazon, but it was not much more expensive than I would have paid at Ross anyway. I was still able to get a good price for him, so it all worked out well. So that's cool. So he's got a single joint of articulation in the knee that bends about that far. And it seems like mine, the right knee, is kind of stuck. So that happens sometimes. But I can probably fix that with a hairdryer later. It'll be cool. So, and then that knee joint rotates all the way around, as you can see. So that's cool. And then he's got a boot cut, which rotates all the way around. And I'm pretty sure that these boots are an original mold. I don't remember ever seeing these boots on anything else before anyway. They might have been used on something else, but it's just something else that I don't have. So yes, there are Masters of the Universe Origins figures that I don't have still. But they seem like to me really cool boots. Like I said, this guy's got a lot of really cool parts for customs, and I would probably consider, and I might do this at some point in the future. It might be something from Snake Armor He-Man, which again is a character that I don't have Snake Armor He-Man, so who knows? But I would be willing to buy another one of these just for custom parts, and I probably will buy another one just for custom parts if I can get one for cheap, because like I said, a lot of cool stuff on here that I think could be used on other figures. You know, come to think of it, this might be a good breastplate if I wanted to make a custom of the space suit that's that comes with Castle Grayskull. And I know the new Castle Grayskull that they put out has the space suit, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get that Castle Grayskull. I already have the other Origins Castle Grayskull. Do I really need one that's a different color? I don't know. I haven't really decided yet, but I do think it's kind of neat. So I'm kind of considering it. I don't know. I guess we'll see. If I do, I probably won't do a video talking about it because I already did the video talking about the other Castle Grayskull. I don't think I could bring any more to the table just because it's different colors. Oh, and we might as well go ahead and do this. I know I talked about it earlier, but so I didn't do it earlier. That's where his shield can snap into his back. And again, it does kind of have that turtle shell sort of look to it when you put it on his back. But the shield itself doesn't particularly look like a turtle shell to me. So I'm guessing Man-at-Arms did not feel the need to stick with that aesthetic by the time he got to Mekaneck and just decided to. It does match up with the rest of his color scheme fairly well with the metallic blue and the silver and everything. And like I said, if I can get it to stay in his hand, it does have a very cool look to it that I like. I like Mekaneck with a shield. I think that works out pretty well. And of course, like I said, the original Mekaneck did not come with a shield. He just came with his club. But there's no denying that that's a cool look. So yes, the director says, I like that the parts are interchangeable to custom make them. Yeah, that's something I've always really enjoyed in these Origins figures. And it seems like the sort of thing like kids would like to do, you know? Like, hell, when I was a kid, the original Masters Universe figures, you could pop their arms off fairly easily and pop them back on fairly easily. So sometimes I'd just mess around putting Skeletor's arm on He-Man or whatever, put Trapjaw's arm on Beastman or something like that. You know, you're just kind of messing around with it. But I don't think they were really designed for that. It was just kind of like a side effect of how those figures were designed. Whereas on the other hand, these are definitely designed so that children can swap out the parts. And hey, adult customizers like myself, it makes it a little easier to customize these figures too. So I'm going to go ahead and swap his head, because I want to go ahead and have the neck pieces on there when I do the thumbnail picture, even though that will make it a little more difficult in some ways. And I'm going to very carefully try to take his head off so I don't send it flying across the room. But we'll go ahead and put the neck pieces back on there. So yeah, this one's really cool. And I think in a lot of ways it actually improves on the original Mekaneck design. But of course, like, you know, a lot of the appeal of just the Origins line in general is the more sort of nostalgic sort of quality to it. So there's something to be said for having the original Mekaneck design. And I think if they'd never done this figure, a lot of people would be very disappointed if the Turtles of Grayskull version was the only version, even though he is really super cool. So I'm glad that we have both. But but yeah, if you only have one Mekaneck figure in your collection and it is this one, like I think you could do a lot worse, honestly. I kind of feel like almost like I would have been happy with this being my only Mekaneck, if not for the fact that, like I said, he doesn't have the exposed chin, and I kind of feel like that's kind of the one thing that to me is holding this figure back from being like a perfect update of Mekaneck. Although I do think it's a really good update of Mekaneck. I think I would have liked it a little bit better if you could still see his exposed chin there. Maybe still had this mouthpiece on there, but like as a removable sort of piece. You know, the Stealth Ninja He-Man, he had like a removable metal mask that looked kind of like Bane, and like when he's wearing it. But you know, maybe something like that from Mekaneck would have been cool. I don't know. I like this version of Mekaneck though. I feel like this is a good like I said about Clamp Champ, I feel like this is a good update of the character, regardless of any crossover Ninja Turtle gimmicks or not. You know, this could have just been an updated Mekaneck figure. Really, the only thing that particularly makes him Ninja Turtle is the shell / shield. And like I said, it's different enough from like a turtle shell that like it could have just been a shield that came with a new Mekaneck figure. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. He's got enough Ninja Turtle on him that I kind of feel like it justifies being a Ninja Turtle crossover as well. But at the same time, if you were somebody who was not into the Ninja Turtle aspect of the line, I could see somebody looking at this figure and being like, you know what? That's just a cool Mekaneck figure. I don't really care about the whole Ninja Turtle thing, but, you know, it's not really invasive on this figure, is it? And one thing also that's different with him about Clamp Champ is, as I pointed out in the previous episode, he already had a green belt on the original figure. So he's already got some green aspects of his coloring. So it you know, it just kind of extends part of his color scheme that was already there. So, but instead of just having the green on his belt, he's got green gloves, or maybe robot hands at this point. I don't know, and green knee pads, and green on the lenses on the helmet. He doesn't have shiny chrome lenses like the regular Mekaneck does, but the metallic green I think is really cool, so I don't really mind. But having the green elements all throughout the suit rather than him just randomly having a green belt, I kind of feel like it kind of incorporates the color into his overall look a little bit more, and that's cool. I like that. So I think that works out pretty well. The metallic uh, green and metallic blue and the silver and the kind of just regular flat red. It's not really too, it's kind of metallic on his helmet, but not too metallic on the breastplate. I kind of feel like all of that comes together. I kind of feel like maybe if they made the red on the breastplate metallic, that would have might have been too much metallic at that point. So it's probably good to have at least one flat color to bring it all together. And he's still got like the regular old black trunks. The only thing he's got that's like the same color as the trunks as the other figure. And oddly enough, the boots are still that same sort of silver color. But the blue is a more metallic blue, and the green is a more metallic green. And I guess what little bit of red is on the breastplate is the same, but the red on the breastplate is still more glossy, so it's not entirely the same. But yeah, he's definitely a cool figure and definitely worth picking up, especially if you can get him on the cheap. So I would definitely recommend doing so. So that's it for Mekaneck, and that's going to be it for Masters of the Universe for a little bit. I've got a lot more Masters of the Universe to open up, but we're going to move on to some more DC stuff in the next episode, and we're going to open up the Batman Returns figures that I have to open up. And I think what I'm going to do on the next episode is I'm going to go ahead and open up Batman himself. So we'll open up Batman, and then we'll open up the Penguin, and then we will open up Catwoman, and that will be all three of the Batman Returns figures that I have, because unfortunately I was not able to get Max Shreck or the Penguin Commandos, but I'm hoping I might be able to get those one day. Who knows? We'll see. But I'll go ahead and open up the three Batman Returns figures that I have, and then I'll switch back to some Masters of the Universe. We're gonna try to like keep it a little more random for the next month or so, because I've done a lot of these really long themes where I'll be talking about something for like weeks or even a month. Like I'll just be opening like a lot of the same stuff. And at least when I did Black History Month, I went through like a few different lines. Not this year when I did Black History Month, because I just did Mr. Terrific. But when I did like last year when I did Black History Month, and practically the whole month was Black History Month, except for Power Girl, because I really wanted to open Power Girl. But at least I was, here's some Marvel, here's some, DC, here's some, Masters of the Universe. Like get various characters in those. I think the only line I did not cover in that month, oddly enough, was G.I. Joe. Even though they have black G.I. Joe characters, there weren't any that I hadn't opened yet at that point. So I wasn't able to do one for G.I. Joe. Oddly enough, right now, they have put out some more black characters in G.I. Joe. So I've got more to, that I could. Technically, I probably could have squeezed one of those in for Black History Month. So I think I got those on like February 27th or something. But I have Heavy Duty and I have Big Lob. So those are two figures that are black G.I. Joe characters, and I'll be opening those up pretty soon too. But I've got 3 figures of Clawful from Masters of the Universe, and so that's going to be. I'll probably do those next week. I'll open up the 3 Clawful figures that I have. I figured those. I'll definitely group all 3 of those together because I kind of want to talk about the differences and similarities with those versions of Clawful. I have the standard Origins version, which of course is based on the vintage toy. And I have the 2000X cartoon collection. And I have the Masterverse version. And the Masterverse version has elements of all 3 designs of Clawful, both the original toy and the 2000X, and the Filmation cartoon, which I opened the Filmation cartoon collection Clawful quite a long time ago. I think that was last year that I opened that around this time. And I love that figure. And the Filmation version of Clawful is my favorite version of the character. But is it my favorite design? We're going to have to see. Because honestly, I don't know at this point if that's going to be my favorite design. Because I haven't opened up these newer ones yet. And maybe one of those will capture my interest. I will say that if you watch both the Filmation cartoon and the 2000X cartoon, Clawful is two entirely completely different personalities in both versions of that. And the reason I like Clawful so much is because of how he's written on the Filmation cartoon. And the 2000X version is not that at all. So we'll get more into talking about that next week, since I'm planning on opening those figures up next week. But that's pretty much it for our Turtles of Grayskull Mekaneck. And that means that's going to be it for Turtles of Grayskull for a while, because I don't have any more of those to open up. There's still a few figures from this line that I would like to get, though. I would like to get Super Shredder, which I did see him at Ross, but I had to pass him up at the time, unfortunately. And there were a ton of him when I was at Ross. So I'm like, hey, there's plenty of him here. I'm sure I'll be able to get him next week. Nope, he was gone. So, but even though I can't find him online quite as cheap as he was at Ross, he's still affordable. So I should be able to get him at some point in the future. And of course, there's still the Turtles of Grayskull Merman that I doubt I'm ever going to be able to get, because right now he's like $200 or something ridiculous like that on the aftermarket. And I certainly can't afford to be spending $200 on any action figure. So unless I see like where somebody posts them for like, I don't know, like $50 or something like that. Oh, the package is bent. I guess I'll get rid of them for cheap. I would spend $50 for them. But I love Merman, and I think that particular version of Merman is really cool. So I would have really liked to have had him, but that's another one that I kind of feel like, even if you weren't so much into the Ninja Turtle aspect of it, it's just a cool Merman figure. But that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Mekaneck, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.